Afternoon, and thank you for joining me for Beyond the Basics. Hot sheets, map search, and customizing results. My name is Wendy Huckins, and I'm the training specialist here at Prime MLS. All of our webinars are conducted in a listen only mode. That means everyone's muted, but we still encourage your questions. So go ahead and find that chat box in your Zoom menu, open it up, and at any point over the next 60 minutes, if you have a question, you can type that question into the chat box. I get your questions in real time, and I'm happy to answer questions as they come in. Additionally, I can stick around at the conclusion of the webinar and answer any questions you have at that time as well. All of our Prime MLS webinars are available for all of our Prime MLS customers to attend. And if you're a New Hampshire or Vermont licensee, you can also potentially earn 1 CE towards your license renewal in both states. The other states are not currently offering this CE credit as our Zoom format does not meet their requirements. In order to earn this CE credit as a Vermont or New Hampshire licensee, make sure you're logged in to your own device. That allows me to track your attendance through the Zoom attendance list, and then make sure you don't miss more than 5 minutes of this 60-minute webinar. And you can expect those affidavits to go out before Friday, end of day of this week. Now, if you are in the process of renewing your license and you do need that affidavit ASAP to finish that process, feel free to reach out at the conclusion of class by sending me an email at training@primemls.com, and I am happy to put a rush on that for you and get that out to you today. We're going to be talking all about your options in Paragon Connect. And one of those fun options is creating hot sheets. Unlike your market monitor in Paragon Professional, you can have unlimited hot sheets in Paragon Connect. And we're going to talk about how you can customize your daily hot sheet to give you updates on your market area. But then you can have other focused hot sheets to help you see information about different geographic areas that are important to you. So we'll be going over hot sheets. That's definitely an advanced tool in Paragon Connect. We're also going to be talking about your Near Me map in Paragon Connect. Your map in Paragon Connect is not only a multi-class search option, but it also is a map that opens based on your location. So we're going to talk about how you can filter your search results when you log in so that you're not seeing the full history of the MLS when you go to your map, and then how you can navigate around the map to see specific information that you want to see. Anytime you want to search around a specific address, points of interest, or water bodies, your map-based search is going to be a great way to get that information. Noreen's asking if I can see her. No video is required, so I'm not seeing any video, so don't worry about that. You don't need to have your cameras on to earn that credit. I just need to be able to see you in the Zoom attendance list, and you need to miss no more than 5 minutes of this 60-minute webinar, so you should be good. We're also going to talk about customizing your spreadsheets. When you're looking at results in Paragon Connect, you have multiple ways to look at those results. You can look at results on the map. You can look at the results via a thumbnail view, and you can also look at results via a spreadsheet view. And that spreadsheet view is going to allow you to organize the information you see based on the columns on your spreadsheet. And it's also going to allow you to customize what you see on that spreadsheet. And that can be a good way to see specific things that you want to see based on that search that you've run without having to look at that full property report. So that is the last thing I will show you how to do here in this 60-minute webinar. So with that, let's jump off our slide deck and jump onto our Prime MLS dashboard. This is where you have that access into both Paragon Professional. That's that older view of the Paragon database. It's best used on a larger screen like a laptop or PC, and with Chrome as your browser. Now, Paragon Connect is the newest view of the Paragon database. Remember, it is just one database, two different views. Paragon Connect can be used on any device and on any browser. So we want you to get comfortable using Paragon Connect because it opens up a host of opportunities for you. Of course, you can download Paragon Connect as an app and access that on your phone. And that's going to be super helpful when you need to find information and you're out and about. But as you're getting familiar with Paragon Connect, I always recommend you get familiar with it on a larger screen because that's going to make using it on that smaller screen where you have to scroll more to see all those options so much easier for you. So we're going to go right into Paragon Connect and we'll land right on our Paragon Connect homepage or dashboard. I kind of use those two terms interchangeably. And the first thing you may notice is that my Paragon Connect homepage looks different than yours. And that's because you can customize your Paragon Connect homepage. We have information about customizing your Paragon Connect on your Prime MLS dashboard. We're going to actually jump back in there real quick, but I will also point out here that you have access to customizing your homepage based on the widgets that you're seeing on your homepage. That's each of these containers of information. You can add, remove, and rearrange those. And you can also go behind your hamburger menu in the top left corner. And if you go down to your settings, that's akin to preferences in Paragon Professional, you're going to be able to click on settings and go into system. And this is where you're going to be able to customize that banner photo that runs across the top of Paragon Connect and also the colors that you see throughout Paragon Connect. So you'll be able to find more information on customizing your Paragon Connect homepage. I am going to use my little back arrow in the top left corner. That also allows me to navigate through Paragon Connect. So a couple of back arrow clicks and I'm right back here on my homepage. If I go back to my Prime MLS dashboard, this is also where I have access to my Prime MLS help desk. I have that access from that bright yellow button and also that option right under that Paragon Professional tab to go into that site. So clicking on either one of these access points will take me to my Prime MLS help desk. This is where you can get answers to your questions 24/7. Of course, we're always welcoming you to pick up the phone and give us a call during work hours. If you have questions, we're more than happy to help. But after hours, if you need help, you're going to find a lot of answers to your questions here on your help desk. As I scroll down, you'll see you have two different tabs. One telling you about all the different things you can do in Paragon Professional and giving you that assistance you might need if you're using that view of the database. And of course, you're going to want to go to Paragon Connect because you're getting familiar with that new view of the Paragon database and you want to take advantage of all those bells and whistles there. So if you want more information about downloading the app so you can easily access Paragon Connect on your phone, or you want to get more information about customizing how your Paragon Connect homepage looks, you're going to be able to come here and find this I like to call bite-sized pieces of information. Now, if you wanted to review this whole previously recorded webinar, you're also going to have that option here on your Prime MLS help desk. So if I go back to the home page and I just scroll down to recorded webinars, I can click on that tile, go under my Paragon recorded webinars, and this is where I'm going to find a previously recorded session of Beyond the Basics map search. Oh, I need to update that name because we did update the name of this class. So I'll get that updated, and I'm also recording this version today. So we'll get that new recording up on the help desk within the next couple of days. I'm going to use my back arrow to go back. I'm going to use my option to go back to my home page by clicking on home at the top there. And I also want to point out that if you're on your help desk and you do need some additional help, not only can you pick up the phone and give us a call, and you'll find our phone numbers and office hours back on your Prime MLS dashboard, but you can also reach out to us via chat. Anywhere you go on your Prime MLS help desk, in the bottom right corner is that live chat option. Click on that, choose the group that's best able to answer your question here at Prime MLS. And if you're not sure, you can always choose technical support, because we will always make sure the right person is answering your question. Ooh, Carol is saying that she is hearing an echo with me. Anybody else having that issue? I could try to change my mic, but I don't know if that's happening for anybody else. Oh, it just went away. Okay, maybe it was something on your end, Carol, but thank you for letting me know that. And if anybody else is having that issue, they can let me know as well. But so far, I'm seeing a no from the other person who responded. Thank you, Paul. So, like I said, once you click on the group that can best answer your question, and if you're not sure, technical support is always a good default. Within a matter of minutes, you'll be chatting with a Prime MLS staff member, and we're happy to answer your questions during office hours via chat. Now, after office hours, you can also send us a chat. We're just going to change that chat over to a ticket, and a ticket is just an email communication with us. You can also send tickets right from your Prime MLS help desk. You're going to click on that, create a ticket. This is going to be much easier than having to leave your help desk and go into your work or private email. You'll come here. Once again, you'll choose that group. And if you're ever reaching out on a weekend or holiday, do make sure you select technical support, because we always have a staff member watching support at primemls.com emails, so we can provide that service for you even when the office is closed for weekends and holidays. After you select your group, you're just going to type out your subject, let us know what's happening, attach a file if that will give us additional information on what you need help with. And then as soon as you hit submit, you're immediately going to get a response that is just letting you know your ticket has been submitted without technical difficulties. Give us just a little bit of time, and then we will be responding to those tickets that you send over. Now, when I'm sending out your affidavits via email by the end of next week, of course, they're going to go into your inbox, but they're also going to come to your help desk. And that's going to make it easier to find that affidavit when you need to submit it to your state's real estate commission. You can come to your tickets. This is all of your communications with Prime MLS staff members. And of course, any of those affidavits that I'm sending out will be available here for you. So you can open up your ticket section. Just make sure you change the open pending to all so that you can see all those communications. And like I said, this is a great way to find those affidavits when you need them, if you're not saving them to a folder from whatever email address I'm sending them out to. So your help desk is indeed very helpful, but of course, Prime MLS staff is always happy to help if you have questions or issues as well. So not only can you find information on the help desk, but you can use the help desk to reach out to us via chat or create a ticket. And then back on your dashboard, that's where you have those phone numbers and office hours for you. All right, with that, let's get back into our Paragon Connect homepage and start talking about the first thing we want to cover here, and that's Hotsheets. You have a widget for your Hotsheets, so I'm going to just scroll down a bit and I'll be able to see my Hotsheet alerts here. This is where I'm going to find that daily hot sheet. This is the one I've customized for my market area to show me all the information in the cities and towns that I consider to be my market area. I want to come in here each day and, click on it to see what changes have happened. So if I do that, you can see I'm taken right to some properties, and I can see whether they've had a price change or if it's a new listing. We'll have to scroll through some of these because I have a lot of updates. But we're going to be able to see all those different price change and different status changes for any of those properties in my market area. So if I use my little back arrow, that's going to take me right back to my dashboard. And if I want to see how I customized my hot sheet for my daily hot sheet, I can just click on daily hot sheet and it's going to bring me right into my hot sheet so I can see how this has been customized. You can choose to go a number of days back, or you can run hot sheets by date ranges. Kind of makes sense for my daily hot sheet. I just want to look one day back so I see kind of what's happened from midnight yesterday until this point today. And because it's my daily hot sheet, I want to see all the different status changes and price changes for the geographic area that is, what I consider to be my market area. I'm going to be able to put in that geographic area under criteria. So when I open up criteria, you can see I've got quite a large geographic area that I consider to be my market area. If I am licensed in 2 states, I can have both of those states and see information that I want to see. So within those 2 states, I have 4 different counties. And within those 4 different counties, I've narrowed it down to about 10 different cities and towns that I consider to be my market area. And I'm going to get updates for all those different status changes for all of these properties in these 10 different towns, as long as they're not a commercial property or a boat facility, because I have filtered those out. And if you ever want to see your options, you can always click on that little magnifying glass. So instead of selecting that I only wanted to see residential land, multifamily, and rentals, I just changed my filters to my advanced option, which allows me to exclude certain property types. So since I'm not a commercial broker and I don't ever do anything with boat facilities, I just change my advanced options to not equal to, and then I put in those property classes I don't want to see. So that's another way to get the results you want to see. Most likely you'll want to keep this to equals because generally you want whatever you put in that field to show on your results. But sometimes it's a little bit faster to select the ones you want to exclude instead of including all the ones you want to include. And you have that option. Now, I want to see all the different property types for all the other property classes that I'm seeing. And if I wanted this to get real granular, and I wouldn't want it to be on my daily hot sheet, I could even narrow down my results by a listing office or a listing agent. And I'll kind of give you a use case scenario for that in a moment. Now, once again, from this hot sheet, I can also see my search results. I can also edit this and save it to make any changes. Now, I could also go behind my little snowman menu. Anytime you see that, that means there are additional options for you. So if I wanted to copy this hot sheet and then maybe make some changes instead of kind of starting from scratch, that is an option as well. And I can also see all of my saved hot sheets from behind that little file folder. So if I click on that file folder, it's going to show me 2 sections. It's going to first show me all of my hot sheets that are set with alerts. I can have up to 10 hot sheets set with an alert, and the hot sheets I set with an alert are going to be available from my hot sheet widget right on my Paragon Connect homepage without me having to come into Hotsheets to find them. So I want to use my alerts for the ones, that are the most important to me at this time. And of course, that can change, and you can always change that. I'll show you how to add or remove that alert. All my hot sheets that are not set with alerts are going to be behind that hot sheet searches down here in this second section. And if I wanted to start a new hot sheet, I can do that right from here with that big plus. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I typically like to use days back, not the date range, but really you do whatever works for you. So in this example, let's actually look and set it up for the last week. And let's only look for new listings and back on market. And maybe I would use this hot sheet for a client that I've been working with. They've seen everything that's out there currently that's available to them. So I want to set up a hot sheet that's only going to show me new information in the area they're looking in and any properties that are going back on the market. So now I'm setting up this hot sheet for a specific use case, and I'm just going to go down and put in that criteria. If my client is looking, for a property in, any of the states we cover, I can just click on that field and then make that selection. So maybe they're looking for a property in Vermont and they're looking for a property specifically in Brattleboro. So I can make that selection here. And if I knew that there was one agent in Brattleboro that typically is always listing the kind of property that this contact is looking for, I could even set this up so that I am just seeing that listing office or listing agent's information. I probably wouldn't want to make this hot sheet that specific, but certainly it's an option for you if you want to. I probably would put in their price range, and maybe they're looking somewhere between 300 and 500,000. So I'll just put that in there. And from here, now I can save this hot sheet. So I'm just going to go up to the disk icon. I want to give it a meaningful name. So this is my Brattleboro. I maybe just call it Brat for short. And this would be back on market and new. And I would probably put the client I was watching this for. So maybe I'm watching it for Betty Buyer. And because I'm specifically trying to keep track of those new and back on market properties in this specific area that Betty's looking for, I would make this one of my 10 hot sheets that I can see on my Paragon Connect homepage. Once I do that, I can hit save. And now I can see that there are 3 properties that I can go and look at. I can see those results right from here. And then of course, I'd be able to click on the photo and that's going to take me right to that full property report. We'll talk more about your full property report and how you can share that out and customize your views from the thumbnail view. You can always look at views of properties by a thumbnail view, a map view, and then that customizable and organizable spreadsheet view. And that's when we're outside of those hot sheets. Now, there are multiple ways to get to your hot sheets. So not only can you get to your hot sheets from your Paragon Connect homepage, I'm just going to go back to my dashboard. Remember, I have that widget and I just clicked on that name of that hot sheet and that took me right into my hot sheets. I can also use my little snowman menu. And once again, this would allow me to create a new hot sheet from here or go into where I have my hot sheet saved. We are going to have to go back in there because I do want to show you, in addition to any of your saved hot sheets, if you click on that snowman menu, that is where you have that option to edit the hot sheet, to delete the hot sheet, and also to add or remove that alert. So anytime you see that snowman menu in Paragon Connect, make sure you click on it because that means there are more options. Are there any questions I can answer on your hot sheets and how they can be used here in Paragon Connect? Alrighty then, let's get into our map-based search. So once again, oh, and by the way, I mentioned there are multiple ways to get here. You could also go behind your hamburger menu and down into properties. These are all your search options here in Paragon Connect. So you could come in here and do a map search. You could go into your hot sheets, edit, remove, add new hot sheets. You can also set up tour and open house searches. Tours are for your fellow agents, open houses for the public. And once you know how to set up those hot sheets, you know how to set up tour and open house searches because they are very, very similar. And I agree, Noreen. I think hot sheets are very cool, and it's one of my favorite features of Paragon Connect. So if you want to search for any tours, fellow agents, or open houses for the general public, you can do that here, and you can set those up just like you did with your hot sheets. You're going to just save them, and then you can maintain them from that little file folder. Now, if I use my back arrow, that takes me into properties, which shows me all my different search types. So I do have the maps, the hot sheets, and the open houses. And then I've got all my different classes of property search broken out for me. I always like to talk about multi-class just for a moment, because multi-class allows you to search one or multiple property classes. So if you had somebody looking for a single family residential property and a multifamily property, you'd want to go to that multi-class search option and be able to search for both of those types of properties in one search instead of doing two separate ones. And you also want to make sure you get familiar with searching by the map, because I think anytime you're looking around a water body, points of interest, or a specific address, your map-based search is the best way to do that. So I could come in here and I could access my map from inside of properties, or I could go right back to my home page or dashboard, and I can access my map right from here, or from under my quick actions. I can use that listings near me. That's going to take me into my map search. So 3 different ways to get to the same place. I typically use that option right at the top of the page. And the first time you come to your map, it's going to be flooded with property flags. Because remember, this is a multi-class search. And until you filter the options that you see, you're kind of seeing all that history, which is going to have a lot of flags that are red because those are those sold properties. So you want to come up to your top right corner and click on your filter, and you want to filter out your results. So generally when I'm using my map, I'm probably wanting to see active properties. Maybe sometimes I want to see active under contract, so I'll go ahead and select that as well. And then for the property classes, excuse me, maybe I typically want to see residential. Sometimes I like to know what's going on with multifamilies. And then sometimes I also like to see rentals. So I'm going to select all 3 of those. Now I want to set this as my default map search. So instead of it showing me all of these property flags for all the different listing statuses and property classes, it's only going to show me the ones I've selected. So I need to save this. When I click on my disk icon, I want to make it my default search. So it's the one I'm always going to see every time I open up my map. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to hit save. And now most of those flags are going to go away because I have limited what I want to see on my map. Now I can zoom out. And the more I zoom out, the more property flags I'm going to see. And just so you know, the little green flags, those are your active properties. Anything purple would be that pending or active under contract. I can also kind of pull and drag myself around the map. And of course, that's going to change what I see. You might notice in your top left corner by that hamburger menu, you're always going to see kind of a running total of the properties you have showing on the map. So once again, if I zoom out a little more, of course, that's going to increase, and we'll see that increase up by the hamburger menu. You also notice I start to get those red circles on the map. The red circles just mean I'm zoomed out too far to see the information. And as I zoom in, generally I see those flags kind of burst. And now instead of getting that one circle, our two red circles, I'm seeing all those different property flags. And once again, I can click on that property flag and that's going to bring me into my property report where I'm going to see all that detailed information about the property. I can use that little back arrow in the top left corner. And of course, that's going to take me right back to my map. And every now and then when I'm on Zoom, it does this weird thing where it kind of grays out on the side. But if I just move my map around a little bit, that fixes that. Now from here, we want to talk about some of your map options. Like I said, in Paragon Connect, anytime you're looking at results, you can change how you're seeing those results. So if I'm on the map and I want to look at this in my spreadsheet view or in my thumbnail view, I can go to my view changer, and that's just to the left of my filters, and I can click on that and I can see this information in any of those other options. We're going to exit out of here. And speaking of my filters, remember, just because I set this as my default doesn't mean I'm married to it. If I only wanted to see active properties, I could always click on my filter and I could just take out those pending and active under contract, hit apply, and now this map is showing me only those active properties. And of course, I could always save that, and then that would be an option that I could pull up from behind that little file folder if I don't want to make it my default. But if I wanted to go back to my default, easy peasy, all I need to do is refresh. I've got that little refresh option in that top right corner, top left corner. Once I do that, it's going to once again bring me back to that default, and I'll just zoom out so we can see all those properties again. There we go. I also have my save, my disk icon allows me to save not only for my default search, but it allows me to give it a name and save it to my file folder so I can always have that access there. As we move down the right side of the page, I have the ability to go to any specific address, point of interest, or city of town in the map by using my little magnifying glass, and we'll do that momentarily. We'll also start drawing shapes on the map. Drawing shapes on the map allows me to limit what I'm seeing on the map based on the shape that I draw around the area that I'm interested in. You can have up to 7 shapes on your map, and of course, we'll be doing that as well. We've already been using our bottom right corner zoom in, zoom out options. You also have your little Google Map guy. His name is Pegman. If you take him out of his box and the road lights up blue in front of one of your properties, you can drop Pegman on the map. And that means you're going to get that 360 view of the area, and you can even walk down that. Now, this is available in your more populated areas. As you get more rural, that Google car can't go down every single road, so you may not have that option in more rural areas. To get back to my map, I'm going to that little arrow underneath my hamburger menu in the top left corner. When I click on that, that brings me right back here. And then we have some other options in the bottom left corner. Now, I am able to turn on my tax integrations. And when I do that, I'm going to be prompted to zoom in enough to see that information. And if I zoom in, I should start seeing some black flags populating. And this is one way that Paragon pulls in public record information on the map. So I could click on that flag and I would get that public record information. And even though it's saying that there's no street information, I think I am still getting that information for 74 Oakmont Ave. And if I wanted to go into CRS, CRS is the public record database that's integrated into Paragon. I have that access in my third-party integration square. So when I click on that, if I give it a moment to populate, I can go right into that CRS property report And indeed, it brings that property right up, 74 Oakmont Drive here in Concord. And I am getting a ton of great information on that off-market property, meaning it wasn't one of the colored flags that indicates that property is active or active under contract pending in the Paragon MLS software. So these are for properties that are outside of the Paragon MLS software. I am seeing public record information, but because CRS is integrated with Paragon, I'm also seeing Paragon information as well. So the last time this property was in the Paragon MLS database was back in 2024, and I have that clickable MLS number that I can click on, and that's going to show me that Paragon professional agent full report, so I can get all the information on this property from the last time it was in the system. So a very nice symbiotic relationship here between Paragon and CRS. But there's even more you can do with public record information. I'm going to exit out of my CRS property report as soon as I mention this section about FEMA flood zones. I love CRS for giving us this information here. I'm going to show you where you can turn on flood zone, a color change on the map, but that's not nearly as helpful information as seeing the information here in CRS. You get some description, but even better than that, another clickable link here, and this link is going to take you to the source of the information, which is the FEMA website. Anytime I can get information directly from the source, I like to take advantage of that. So being able to go to a property from the map that is not in the Paragon MLS software. Remember, I just clicked on that black property flag. It brought me here. I was able to go into the CRS property report. And then all I needed to do was click on that firm panel ID to go right to the source of that flood zone information, which is FEMA. So I'm going to just exit out of these so we don't slow the system down too much. And we're going to exit out of this public record. Wait, no, we're not going to exit out just yet because I said there was more. And I want to point out this little eye icon. This is called Property Watch. And you can use Property Watch on off-market properties, and you will get an email notification if the property you're watching has a change in adjustable rate mortgage, ownership, valuation, foreclosure, or if tax delinquency information is added to that property. This is being pulled in from public record sources, and you are able to watch it via Property Watch, and you have a Property Watch widget on your Paragon Connect homepage. So you can see all the properties that you're watching, but know if there's any of those changes, you will get an email notification, and that will come to you from Paragon. So you can get that information from here by clicking on that little icon. There is another way that you can also get public record information, but it's a little bit hit or miss more. Notice like black flags were not available for all the properties that we're seeing on the map. And that's because Paragon is pulling this information in from a couple of different sources. Sometimes I can click on a property and it will also let me get more information. Let me just zoom out just a little bit and see if I can pull that up. There we go. Who knew that first click and I actually get a hit, because sometimes I click on a property and I just get the parameters around the property. I don't get this little pop-up up top that lets me see the address of the property, and then once again gives me the ability to use Property Watch here and also go into CRS to get that third-party integration information. So that's a couple of ways that you can find off-market property information here in Paragon Connect. Now, as we move over, you have a couple of different views. I tend to just stay on the road view because it's the easiest to see when we're doing Zoom, but you can certainly play around with these options here. And then you have your layers. And when I open up my layers, this is where you can turn on your floodplain. So I'll go ahead and do that. And if I kind of scooch my map over and I'm zoomed in close enough, I can see those color changes. If I zoom out a little too much, they're going to go away because that is dependent on my zoom level. So let's see, there we go. If I zoom out this far, that goes away. But once again, if I zoom in enough, I can see that. Now we do have some properties that are in the Paragon MLS software that are kind of in that flood zone. So the cool thing about that is I can click on that property flag and I can still get CRS information right from here because we have pulled that information here. So it's easy access. I can click on that. Sometimes it does weird things like not bringing up the property, but if I just put that address in, 11 Stickney Ave, let's do that real quick. Merrimack County, so I'm in the right county, 11 STICK. Oh, it's really not going to pull that up. That's odd. I might make a note of that and have somebody look into that. Very unusual that we don't get CRS information there. Let's try one of those other properties. Hopefully I won't strike out again. Let's see this one. Let's go CRS. There we go. This is working exactly as expected. So now I'm seeing that CRS information right from here, meaning I can go down to that flood zone information. See, I'm getting better description here. And of course, I can go right to the FEMA website right from here. So great way to use all this information that is available to you in the Paragon Connect map. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of CRS. I'm going to use my back arrow to get back to my map. I'm going to go down to my layers and I'm going to toggle off those floodplains. And we'll close up that section. Now, once we start drawing shapes on the map, you'll notice that I'm going to get an additional icon down here in my bottom left corner. That is going to help me keep track of how many shapes are on the map. And it's also going to give me the ability to edit those shapes, to delete those shapes, and also to even exclude an area within a shape. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. But before we do that, let's make this an example for a client who's looking for a property to purchase. So if they're looking for that property to purchase, I don't want to show them any pending or active under contract listings. So I'm going to go up to my filter options, and I'm just going to remove active under contract and pending. I'm going to keep coming soon in there because that's our new status. And that means any property in a coming soon status is going to be active within the next 10 days. So that makes sense. I'd want to share that with them. And maybe this particular client is only looking for single family homes. So under that property class of residential, I'd want to come down to type and I'd want to look at single family residential. That's that RE, not the rental single family. That would only show me, single family homes that are for rent if I had that selected in my property class. So I want to narrow it down just to those single family homes. I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And boy, do we lose all our properties. Let's zoom out and see if we can find anything. There we go. So we at least have a couple of properties here in Concord. So maybe my folks have said they want to live on the west side of the highway. So this is where I can start drawing some shapes. I'm going to come up to my little paintbrush, and when I click on that, this gives me my 4 different shape options: freehand, polygon, rectangle. We'll do a rectangle or square shaped. Radius is going to do that perfect circle. Freehand and polygon are my least restrictive shapes. So generally I show freehand, and I can kind of come here all along the highway to this area my client is interested in, and I can make that shape. Once I close that out, it does zoom in, but I'm going to zoom back out and we can see we've got that poor lone little property that's available. And that's great though, because all the other properties go away because I've told the system, I just want to look at this specific area. But most clients aren't just looking for one area, right? Maybe they like this area in in Concord, but there's also an area of Manchester that they're interested in. So I could go by and go down to Manchester by zooming out or kind of dragging my way around the map, but that's not the most efficient way. Remember, you have your magnifying glass, and that's going to let you put in a specific address, points of interest, or cities and towns. So I'm going to start typing in Manchester. And as soon as I see Manchester, New Hampshire, I'm going to go ahead and select that. And now the system opens right where I wanted to go. So that's the most efficient way to move around my map. Now from here, of course, I can zoom in, and maybe my clients have told me they kind of want to live, around Massabesic Lake. Using a map-based search to search around a water body is a great way to find properties that are in that area. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on my little paintbrush, and we'll do a polygon. That kind of lets me draw any shape. I can use my mouse to drag that line out. And then when I want to turn, I just click on my mouse. So I'm going to kind of come up here once again, kind of go along the highway and kind of get this whole area and draw whatever shape I need to. And then I'm going to close that up. Once we do, we can see there are a couple of properties in this area. And notice in the bottom left corner, now I have my shape counter, and it is letting me know I have those two shapes. If I zoom way out, I can see I still have that shape up in Concord, and of course my new shape that I just drew here. If I click on that shape counter, if I wanted to delete a shape and start over, I can do that. I can also edit a shape. So once I click on edit on that shape, it's the last polygon I just drew that I want to edit. I am going to zoom in a little bit. Anywhere you see those little circles around the parameter, you can click and drag those in or drag those out to make the shape bigger. And that allows you to change the shape that you just drew. Once you're happy with that, you can hit apply. It's going to make it, that purple color, and it looks like we brought in another property there. So good. Now we have one more option, and maybe within this shape around Massabesic Lake, my folks told me, let's zoom in here, see if we can kind of see the name of this road that property's on. Well, they've kind of told me whatever this area is, they don't want to live on this particular street. Maybe it's where they already live. Maybe they have a family member that lives there and it'd be too close. So I could always exclude this. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to draw the shape around the area I want to exclude. So I'll do that polygon shape again, because it really lets me kind of be precise. Maybe I just want to kind of go up this road here, and we'll close that shape out. Now, nothing happens because all I did was draw a shape within a shape. In order to exclude it, I need to go down to my shape counter, which shows me I am drawing. I now have 3 shapes on the map. And I need to go to that last polygon, and I need to toggle on my exclude. When I do that, you're going to see the shape turn red, and then that property that's there is going to be removed. And when I save this, that means I am never going to get any properties on this street here because I have excluded those from my search results. So of course, if these were the areas my client was interested in, I could come in and go up to my disk icon. This is where I can save that search by giving it a name, hitting save, and I can always pull it back up from my little file folder. Or I could even start my clients with access to the Collaboration Center by giving this search a name that would be meaningful to them. I typically like to add my client's last name to it, and then I can assign that to a contact to start that process of setting them up with Collaboration Center access, which is a whole nother 1-hour webinar that you can always watch on your Prime MLS Help Desk. That webinar is called Set It and Forget It, Recipe for Collaboration Center Success. And you can have access to a previously recorded session back on your Prime MLS Help Desk. I'm not actually going to save this search. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here and ask you once again, any questions on using your map? Lots of cool features here. And luckily, you can always go back and review that previously recorded webinar to remind yourself of how to do all these different things on your map. All right, with our final few minutes, we're going to go ahead and go under our hamburger menu, and we're going to go down into properties. We're going to actually go into residential properties, and from here, we're just going to do a basic search to get some results. So once again, if I wanted to just see one of my residential options, maybe this time we'll look for condos. And we won't limit by price here, but we will look at Merrimack County and see how many condos do we have available currently. All right, 38 condos. So maybe I will narrow it down just a little bit. And we'll do that by price. So let's look 300. Seems to be the magic number today, to 500. And see how much that narrows our search down. Okay, 18 results. I'm good with that. So I can see that I have 18 results up by my hamburger menu, and I can look at those 18 properties by hitting search in the bottom right corner. When I click search, that's first going to show me these 18 properties here in my thumbnail view. But remember, we have our little view changer, so we don't have to look at the thumbnail view. We could go look at these properties on a map. We could also go look at these properties on my spreadsheet view. So notice I actually have a spreadsheet that is customized for when I'm looking at condos. So it shows me the condo name and the fee. So let's go ahead and click on that one. So from here, I can see those two columns I added. I actually added garage capacity as well. And now for these 18 properties, not only can I see the name of the condo and that fee, I can also see if they have a garage. So this would make sharing the properties that have a garage, if that's what my client is looking for, even easier, because I could click on that garage capacity header. And first, it's going to show me the ones that don't have garages. But then if I click again, it's going to move the properties that have garages up to the top. So once again, I could just easily select those properties by clicking on that little square next to the photo of the property. And then that's how I could easily share those out. But maybe I would want to narrow those down a little bit. Maybe my client has said, I don't really want to see any condos that have a fee over 300 a month, because that's going to be out of our pre-approval range. So I can see this one barely fits, that works, but this one, that's too much. So I'm going to undo that one. I'm going to go ahead and take out that one that's exactly 300, take out the one that's 375, and it looks like, ooh, we'll take out that one that's 450 or 425. And once again, I've narrowed that down without having to go into that full property report. And now I can share those 8 listings right from here. I've got my little share option, and this is how I can email, text, or take that link and share that link however I want. If I needed to print out these 8 listings, I can do that behind the snowman menu. I've got my little print icon here. So that gives you a little bit of insight there with sharing your property reports and how customizing your spreadsheet can be really helpful. But let me show you how you can customize your spreadsheet. We've already kind of seen how you can organize it. We have organized by garage capacity. We could also organize by that fee, but you can only organize by one column at a time. So you kind of pick the one that's the most important, and then you kind of work from there. Now, if I want to add a new spreadsheet so I can customize it, right now there is a little glitch. I do need to come up and refresh. And when I refresh, all that's going to do is take me back to my thumbnail view of these 18 properties. Once again, this is where I can go to my view changer, and I'd want to go to that original spreadsheet and copy it. So when I copy it now, I get a name. I can name it, and let's call this February 17th. And I'm going to go ahead and save this spreadsheet. Now, once I do that, once again, I just need to refresh and select the spreadsheet from my view changer. Now it's been added, and now I can go in and start customizing. Anytime you see that little gear icon, that means you can add columns to this spreadsheet. So I could add, remove, and rearrange those columns. I can have up to 15 columns on this spreadsheet. And I will tell you, the one column I always remove is this picture count, because I can click on that photo and see those 32 pictures. So I don't really see a need to let me know how many pictures are there. But really, it's up to you what you want to see on your spreadsheet. Know that you do have to scroll over to see all of those columns. Now, if I want to change what I'm seeing, I'm going to click on that gear icon, and now I'm going to be able to look at all the columns that are showing on my spreadsheet. And if I want to add something, I can click plus. When I was an agent, I had a client who only wanted to see properties with natural gas heat. So I could add that to my spreadsheet, and that's going to be a lot easier to see here on the spreadsheet rather than having to go into that full property report and look for that heat type. So if I start typing natural and I spell it right, and I still spelled it wrong, N-A-T. There we go, natural gas. Now it's going to show me heating natural gas. That's the field I'm looking for. This is a yes, no field. And I want to see the properties where the listing agent has said yes. So I'm going to hit add there. Now, anytime I add to my spreadsheet, it's always going to be at the very bottom, but you don't have to leave it there. You can click, hold, and drag, and I'm going to move that right to the top, meaning I'm not going to have to scroll on my spreadsheet to see it. But because I can only have 15 columns, I am going to need to remove something. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that picture count. But if I don't want to scroll so much, is there anything else here that I can remove? Maybe if, I'm looking all in the same state, I don't need to see the state on my column for my spreadsheet. Maybe I don't even need to see county. So I can remove both of those. And then I hit save. And now that's going to remove those columns that I've unselected. It's going to add the column that I added, and it's going to place it exactly where I want it to be. So now a little less scrolling to see days on market, which is all the way to the far right. And I can easily see the properties that have natural gas heating. So I can select that on my column so it organizes that information, click once again, and it's going to put that yes on top because it always organizes A to Z. And then if you click again, it will reverse that. So this would make it super easy for me to just select these ones that have natural gas, and then I can share those easily with my client right here from my spreadsheet. And I can share that out via text or by email. And if I wanted to print it, of course, I have that option behind the snowman menu as well. Paul is saying he has a client looking for a home that is all one level. Is there a way to filter that out? There is. And since we have a few extra minutes, I can show you that. That's actually with your features. So when you are on your spreadsheet, not your spreadsheet, your search template, you would want to search that way. Could we add that? Could we do it here? Let me play around with this for a second. Let me see if I could add it to my spreadsheet. I think you're probably going to want to use your feature fields, but let's select and see if there's anything that would show one level. Yeah, I didn't think so. All right. So not something you can do on your spreadsheet, but you can certainly limit your properties that you see. So if you go back to your search template, let's just use that back arrow. Here we are. Then we can just go down to those feature fields. If it's a must-have, you could say one level. Couple of different ways. So this is talking about accessibility. Once again, just remember though, anytime you're searching by features, it is dependent on how the listing agent put that in. So I would try all of these. Let's see what else. I think also we're going to see some. Oh, I thought it would bring up my architectural styles. I guess I'm going to have to be a little more specific. So one level, ranch would also be an option. So if I start to type in ranch, let's see if it will bring that up. There we go. We don't want to raise ranch because that would involve some stairs. So you can kind of see how I'm kind of building that out to only see those properties that would be one level or a ranch style. So that is one way to go about it. The only thing, because it is dependent on that listing agent going into those feature fields that are not required and making those selections, I always recommend that you add the field of public remarks, because then you could search by that term, one level, and that might bring up some properties that you might miss if you're searching using those feature fields. And of course, you're going to find more information on searching by features back on your Prime MLS help desk. Are there any other questions that I can answer this afternoon? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I do look forward to seeing you in future training events.